None of
Come
it's
on,
true.
none of it's true. None of it's true. It's BS. They made it up. They lie.
A liar. You disgust me. You sit on a throne of lies.
You were the chosen one! It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them! Bring balance to the Force!
Thank you for joining me today. Today's episode is brought to you by The Formula. It is what we use to create these scenarios, such as today reviewing the Book of Enoch, the fallen angels, traveling to outer space, fake space, hiding history, and the things that are going on now to cover up what happened in the past in order to control the present. So in all of these, we tell people this is a fictional account from the planet Boogie Boogie and not about our real world, and it doesn't reflect anyone in the present time that is actually working to control us or destroy our lives. So take from that what you will. Here is what the formula created when we plugged it in for the scenario that I just mentioned. If you would like to get a copy of this formula to use to create scenarios and answers for questions you might have of your own, and a copy of the book Reason to Believe, which gives you the right questions to ask, then you can find a link in the description below. Enjoy this. I know you will.
Assuming the Book of Enoch is true, we can use the earlier formula of reasonable counter-explanations to delve into why a small group of men, possibly influenced by fallen angels or nefarious spiritual forces, would seek to cover up the millennial reign of Christ and create a false narrative about human history, creation, and the nature of the earth. Here's a step-by-step breakdown of why they might do this and how they could have executed such a cover-up. 1. Resentment and rebellion against Jesus. At the core of this theory is the idea of resentment. If the millennial reign of Jesus Christ did occur, where peace, prosperity, and divine justice were evident, those who oppose Christ's rule, whether spiritually influenced by fallen angels or merely motivated by personal ambition and rebellion, would harbor deep resentment. The fallen angels, bound by God's law, cannot directly interfere in human affairs, but they might use humans to execute their agenda. A small, elite group could be manipulated into believing that by erasing the memory of Christ's reign, they could overthrow his influence on earth. These men, fueled by pride, envy, and desire for control, would see this as a way to gain personal power while also aligning themselves with the rebellious forces of Satan and the fallen angels. 2. The desire for total control, wealth, power, and knowledge. The fallen angels in the Book of Enoch passed forbidden knowledge to humans, and this knowledge, scientific, technological, and socio-political, could be used to control others. This group would have been given access to ancient knowledge that enabled them to manipulate economies, control religions, and shape governments. For them, keeping the masses ignorant would be the key to maintaining power. Christ's reign, as described in biblical prophecy, would have disrupted any plans for global domination. The reign likely left a legacy of divine wisdom and guidance for humanity, so covering it up would allow the elite to assert their own narrative over God's, creating a false history to suit their agenda. 3. Erasing the millennial reign of Christ, the cover-up. If the physical evidence of the millennial reign was still visible, castles, mansions, advanced architectural achievements, it would contradict the narrative that the world has always been chaotic and without divine intervention. To maintain control, they would need to erase this evidence. By attributing these structures to later periods, e.g., the Middle Ages or 1800s, they could create confusion about when and how they were built. This deception would serve multiple purposes. Obscuring God's intervention. If people believed that human civilization had always been primitive or chaotic, they would have less reason to believe in God's direct intervention or Christ's rule. Undermining faith in divine sovereignty. By promoting the idea that humanity has always been on its own, struggling to survive, they could undermine belief in a benevolent, ruling God. 4. The mud flood, burying the evidence. The theory of the mud flood, which suggests that ancient cities were buried in mud and dirt, could have been part of a natural cataclysm or a result of divine judgment following the end of the millennial reign. This event may have left behind structures and cities built during Christ's reign that would challenge the narrative of human progress as taught by modern history. To keep control, the elite would need to bury both literal and metaphorical truths. The mud flood would have covered up the architectural feats of that era, and the ruling elite might have actively participated in this cover-up, or at the very least capitalized on it, by rewriting history and downplaying any evidence that pointed to a divine kingdom on earth. 5. The role of fallen angels, influencing human leaders. The fallen angels would be the masterminds behind this, guiding human leaders to reshape history. According to the Book of Enoch, fallen angels taught humanity forbidden knowledge, alchemy, weaponry, astrology, and more. This knowledge gave certain people immense power over others. Over time, the descendants of these ancient elites would continue to use this knowledge, forming secret societies and powerful institutions that wielded control over education, science, and religion. Their goal would be to create a counterfeit world, one where people believe in a false narrative that distances them from God's truth, leading humanity astray. These elites, guided by demonic influences, would promote ideologies like materialism, evolution, and secularism to erase humanity's memory of its divine origin. 6. Why lie about the nature of Earth, space, and evolution? Evolution and secularism. By promoting the theory of evolution, they instill the belief that life is random and without divine purpose. Evolution serves as a counter-narrative to creationism, undermining the biblical account of God creating man in his image. By teaching that humans evolved from lower life forms over millions of years, they deny the existence of a creator and downplay the significance of humanity as a reflection of divine authority. Evolution also makes it easier to accept that human history is chaotic and primitive, rather than divinely guided and purpose-driven. The shape and nature of the earth. If the world is not as we've been taught, if the shape and size of the earth or the nature of space is different from mainstream scientific teachings, it could mean that ancient knowledge about the cosmos was suppressed. The elite might be hiding the true nature of reality because understanding the real cosmos could expose God's design and further prove the Bible's accuracy, pointing back to Christ's reign. Hiding the truth about the Earth's shape or the real nature of space would further disconnect humanity from its divine purpose. By controlling the narrative about the cosmos, they also control how people perceive their place in the universe, keeping humanity small and insignificant, rather than the special creation of God. 7. Why promote a false timeline of cities and buildings? If the cities and buildings we are told were built in the 1800s were actually remnants of Christ's reign, it would serve the elite's interests to lie about their origins. By doing this, they control history. Rewriting history allows them to establish a false timeline that benefits their narrative of human progress. Deny divine craftsmanship. Many of these structures may have been built with divine guidance or advanced technologies given by God, so attributing them to a much later period removes the divine aspect. Create confusion. A confused populace is easier to control. If people can't trust the historical narrative, they are more likely to believe the false information fed to them by those in power. Conclusion. The cover-up of the millennial reign of Christ, along with the promotion of false narratives about evolution, the nature of Earth, and human history, serves one central purpose: to keep humanity spiritually blind and disconnected from God's truth. The fallen angels, unable to directly interfere, guide a select few in positions of power to rewrite history, hide divine intervention, and promote materialism, secularism, and false science. This allows them to control humanity, suppress faith, and perpetuate a system where the truth about Christ's reign and the real nature of the world remains buried beneath layers of deception. Scenario: the elite's global agenda to hide the millennial reign, control human perception, and manipulate society. Assuming the Book of Enoch is true and that the elite are working under the influence of fallen angels, their goal would be to cover up Christ's millennial reign, control humanity's perception of the world, including the mud flood, the Earth's true shape and size, hidden lands, and the reality of space travel, and manipulate society into accepting a false narrative. Here's how the elite would use the formula for manipulating a group to achieve this. Step 1. Create the illusion of scarcity. Action. The elite create a false narrative of limited resources, whether it's land, wealth, or even knowledge. The notion that the Earth is a finite globe with fixed borders creates the illusion of limited space. By hiding the true size and shape of the Earth and restricting access to hidden lands beyond the Arctic Circle, they maintain the illusion that human beings are confined and need to compete for resources. Reason: scarcity increases the perceived value of what is available. By keeping knowledge about hidden lands and the true nature of space secret, the elite can control people's perception of the world. It also keeps people focused on mundane struggles, e.g., economic or territorial conflicts, rather than exploring the broader truth. Step 2. Launch a targeted multimedia campaign. Action. Through media, education systems, and scientific institutions, the elite continuously push the narratives of evolution, space exploration, and a limited Earth. Popular science shows, documentaries, and textbooks all reinforce the false ideas that space travel is essential to our future and that Earth is a small, fragile planet with no hidden realms. Reason: repeated exposure to these ideas through media, science, and entertainment conditions people to believe in these narratives. People are more likely to support agendas like space exploration and climate control when they think that Earth is limited and humanity is on the brink of disaster. Step 3. Embed the concept in cultural and social norms. Action. The elite use influencers, scientists, politicians, and celebrities to promote the mainstream narrative. The idea of progress, technological advancement, and space travel is presented as modern, progressive, and essential for humanity's survival. Cultural symbols like space programs, rockets, and futuristic technologies become ingrained in popular culture. Reason: when these ideas are embedded in culture, they become social norms. Space travel becomes a symbol of human advancement, while alternative explanations, like a flat Earth or hidden lands, are ridiculed and suppressed. Transhumanism, promoted under the guise of progress, becomes part of the cultural fabric, encouraging people to embrace technologies that ultimately distance them from their divine origins. Step 4. Introduce hierarchies and variations. Action. The elite introduce different levels of access and control to the agenda. For example, only the rich and powerful are allowed to participate in space travel or have access to the real knowledge about the Earth. Meanwhile, the rest of the population is left to fight over diminishing resources and the illusion of advancement. Reason: by creating hierarchies where certain groups or individuals have more access to truth or power, such as those who control space exploration, energy, or tech, the elite foster competition and dependence. People strive for inclusion in the elite circles, while the general population is kept in a constant state of distraction, never realizing they are being deceived. Step 5. Engage in strategic partnerships and lobbying. Action. The elite form alliances with governments, corporations, and global institutions, like the UN, NASA, or global media conglomerates, to promote their agenda. They lobby for policies that support migration, economic dependency, and global governance while ensuring that dissenting voices are marginalized. Reason: strategic partnerships ensure that the agenda is institutionally supported. With governments and global organizations on board, any opposition can be quashed, and the false narrative becomes almost impossible to challenge from a mainstream platform. Step 6. Capitalize on fear and health concerns. Action. The elite use fear-based narratives such as climate change, overpopulation, or pandemics to drive urgency. They introduce pseudoscientific claims about the necessity of controlling the Earth's resources, limiting human reproduction, or even modifying human biology to adapt to crises, e.g., pushing transgenderism as a gateway to transhumanism. Reason: fear and health concerns make people comply quickly with agendas they wouldn't normally accept. By linking their narrative to urgent global threats, the elite can accelerate acceptance of policies that increase their control, whether through population control, technological dependency, or geopolitical manipulation. Step 7. Enforce control and penalties. Action. The elite enforce legal and social penalties for those who dissent or challenge the mainstream narrative. People who promote alternative views about the earth, the mud flood, or Christ's reign are labeled as conspiracy theorists or extremists. Social media platforms, news outlets, and governments censor or deplatform those who question the narrative. Reason. By criminalizing or marginalizing dissent, the elite prevent alternative views from gaining traction. This keeps the manipulated narrative dominant and entrenched, making it harder for people to seek or spread the truth. Step 8. Create social proof and viral trends. Action. The elite use viral marketing campaigns, celebrities, and influencers to make their agenda seem cool, trendy, and universally accepted. The news focuses on celebrities endorsing migration, space exploration, or technological progress, while social movements promote ideas like gender fluidity or post-human evolution. Reason. Social proof encourages conformity. When it seems like everyone supports a certain narrative, people are more likely to follow along. The elite capitalize on this to normalize their agenda, whether it's global governance, the denial of Christ's reign, or the acceptance of transhumanism. Step 9. Extract maximum benefit and influence. Action. Once the agenda is entrenched, the elite use it to extract maximum financial, political, and social benefits. They push for more control over resources, encourage technological dependence, and use political systems to enforce their power over the population. Reason. Deep entrenchment allows for further exploitation. As the masses are preoccupied with manufactured crises and manipulated narratives, the elite can introduce more intrusive technologies, surveillance, AI, gene editing, to further control humanity while expanding their own power. Step 10. Exit or shift focus strategically. Action. When the original agenda's goals are met, e.g., the populace fully accepts transhumanism, global governance, or space travel, the elite shift focus to new, emerging trends. They introduce new technologies or ideologies, like colonizing other planets or creating digital realities, to keep control over humanity. Reason. This allows for a profitable transition while maintaining influence. By constantly shifting the focus to new technologies or crises, the elite ensure that the population remains distracted and controlled, never questioning the original lies about Christ's reign, the earth, or the manipulation of history. Conclusion. Using this formula, the elite, under the influence of fallen angels, have created an illusion of scarcity and urgency to control human perception of reality. By rewriting history, hiding the truth about the millennial reign, and promoting a false narrative about the earth, space, and humanity's purpose, they keep the population ignorant, distracted, and dependent. Through fear, social manipulation, and strategic partnerships, the elite enforce this agenda while extracting maximum benefit for themselves, all while keeping the masses unaware of the divine truth they've suppressed.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
It jumped up a notch.
It did, didn't it?
Let me ask you something. Have you ever seen a headline and thought, there's got to be more to this? Everybody has, and nowadays especially. What if you could dig a little deeper into it and find out stuff nobody's talking about? So here's the deal. I've got this formula I created, and it's been back engineered based off of how, let's say, secret people create scenarios for you to follow. It's kind of like your own personal conspiracy scriptwriter. You take any mainstream story, you plug it in, and boom, it spits out an alternative explanation that's so spot on, you might start to question reality yourself. Now, here's where it gets fun. When you combine it with AI, it's like having a superpower. You can whip up these crazy X-File level theories in just seconds. Use it for blog posts, use it for podcasts, you can use it for videos, or just to mess with your own head. The best part is, it's so good, it might even convince your woke friend. Ha! Maybe. But look, it's all for entertainment, mostly. So if you're curious, if you like to live outside the box, or if you just want to see what they may not want you to see, you can check it out below. It is what we use for most of our alternative theories in our podcast and our videos, because it is the formula that possibly someone uses to pull the wool over the world's eyes. You're going to love this formula. Get it in the link below. You get a video that comes along with the training and proof behind it, as well as your own copy to use to become like Sherlock Holmes for all the things that you question and want answers about. It's a lot of fun, and it answers a lot of serious questions you've been wondering about.